Tim Estiloz has the inside scoop on these money-making marvels. Tim?
Barry, Hollywood studios are working overtime to develop big-budget films based on comic books and so-called graphic novels. The days of silly storylines in comic books are long gone, having given way to serious plot lines and deep character development that's both popular and profitable at the box office.
Holy hallucination! I wish it were, Robin, but it's not. It's 5 dehydrated pirates rehydrated. Damn the highs! Shiver 'em from stem to stern!
There was a time in Hollywood when films based on comic books were seen as campy, corny, and strictly for kids.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray!
Now, fast forward to today. The old colorful Caped Crusader for kids has been replaced with a Dark Knight for a new generation.
Falcone sent them to kill you.
Why?
You rattled his cage.
What's this?
Leverage.
For what?
To get things moving.
Who are you?
Someone like you.
These days, comics adapted from comic books are among Hollywood's hottest and most profitable moneymakers. The biggest, of course, the Spider-Man franchise.
Where is she? Oh, she'll be just fine. Let's talk.
And the trend shows no sign of slowing down, with numerous projects in the production pipeline. With a built-in audience, comic book adaptations are among filmmakers' favorite projects.
You have people like Sam Raimi, like Bryan Singer, like Tim Story, like Jon Favreau, directors who grew up with these stories, who grew up with these characters, that now find themselves in a position of power in Hollywood and can choose to kind of do the stories they want to tell. And with the success of the first X-Men film, it sort of proved that. And I think what you see now are people responding to just great stories that have existed for decades and decades, finally being brought to the screen.
Over the next year, not only are there sequels to the Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man franchises in production, but also sequels to Frank Miller's Sin City, starring Jessica Alba.
Anybody with iPhones love.
A new version of The Incredible Hulk starring Ed Norton and Liv Tyler. And director Jon Favreau's adaptation of the comic book Iron Man, starring Terrence Howard, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Robert Downey Jr. The box office success of comic book films attract A-list stars who are comic fans themselves.
Well, my father was a fan of Iron Man. I was a fan of War Machine. So I was privileged to be that. And I called him and I said, Dad, I was like, Abu, did you know that when you were reading that comic book, that inside your loins was the child that would play, you know, the War Machine, you know, the physical manifestation of it.
Nicolas Cage starred in the Marvel comic book film Ghost Rider. Cage is such a big comic book fan, he adopted his real-life last name from this comic book he read as a kid.
What is it about comic books that appeals to you as an adult?
It appeals to the childlike sensibility, and it appeals to the modern myth sensibility. The idea that people tap into their comic book characters and they become almost like Jungian guidelines for life.
Part of the reason comic books are so popular in Hollywood these days is that they're great source material. Not only are the plot lines exciting and action-packed, but also they're basically ready-made visual storyboards for the filmmakers.
It's not easy translating those stories. It is a very different medium, going from a two-dimensional comics to the world of a 3D feature. But you do have a little head start. You do have the comic panels, which somewhat can relate to storyboards in a lot of ways. There's a rhythm and a timing to reading a comic book that you'll find many editors today relating to in a way that brings about that same visceral excitement when you see the film.
But generating excitement and ticket sales from the fans depends on doing a faithful adaptation that they'll enjoy. Most comic book films, if done faithfully, can guarantee at least a $100 million return at the box office, and much more in DVD sales. Batman Returns, with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, raked in a big $162 million.
Who are you? Who's the man behind the bat? Maybe you can help me find the woman behind the cat.
But when filmmakers tinkered with the entire background of the Catwoman character for Halle Berry, that film tanked big time with audiences.
The other night you killed somebody. She was a nice girl. Why?
And director Joel Schumacher's over-the-top Batman and Robin, starring George Clooney, sunk the Cape Crusader franchise for years.
Damn.
Damn's not good.
Those targeting mirrors are frozen.
Comic book artist Paul Ryan has drawn dozens of comic book characters, from Superman and Spider-Man to the Phantom. He knows firsthand what comic book audiences want.
Fans can be very picky about what Hollywood does with their characters. If you remember back when Michael Keaton got the role to play Batman, the fans were aghast. Michael Keaton, Saturday Night Live, Michael Keaton is going to be Batman? And for that time period, he turned out to be one of the best Batman ever.
There is a perception that comic books are for kids. I think that's a perception from people that don't necessarily read comic books. There are themes within X-Men comics and Spider-Man comics, great power and great responsibility. In X-Men, there's the themes of prejudice. There's the themes of sort of rage within with the Hulk that are universal themes that kids can relate to, that adults can relate to. And frankly, I think one of the reasons that our films do so well is that kids and parents can go together and neither get bored.
Comic book fans have become such an important audience to filmmakers that Hollywood trots out both its A-list stars and fantasy film previews every year to the annual Comic-Con convention in San Diego.